Once upon a time, there was a young boy named Jack who didn't like studying. He thought it was boring and would rather spend his time playing video games or hanging out with his friends. He would often procrastinate his homework and didn't pay attention in class, which caused his grades to suffer. One day, Jack's teacher, Mrs. Johnson, noticed that he was struggling and decided to talk to him after class. She asked him why he didn't like studying and what he wanted to do in the future. Jack shrugged and said, "I don't know. I just don't see the point of all this." Mrs. Johnson smiled and said, "Jack, let me tell you a story. Once there was a man who wanted to become a doctor. He knew it would take a lot of hard work and dedication to achieve his dream, but he didn't give up. He studied day and night, even when he didn't feel like it. He knew that the sacrifices he was making would pay off in the long run." Jack was intrigued by the story and asked, "But what does that have to do with me?" Mrs. Johnson replied, "Jack, the man in the story is just like you. He had a dream, and he knew that studying was the only way to achieve it. You may not know what you want to do yet, but you should still study and work hard. Education is the key to a successful future, and you don't want to miss out on opportunities because you didn't want to study." Jack thought about Mrs. Johnson's words and realized that she was right. He wanted to have a successful future, but he knew that it would require hard work and dedication. From that day on, he made a commitment to study and work hard, even when he didn't feel like it. Over time, Jack's grades started to improve, and he found that he was actually enjoying learning. He started to see the value in studying and the opportunities it could provide for his future. He even started to think about what he wanted to do after school and set goals for himself. Years passed, and Jack became a successful businessman, thanks to the education and skills he had acquired through his studies. He looked back at his journey and realized that Mrs. Johnson's story had been the turning point in his life. If it weren't for her words of wisdom, he may never have realized the importance of education. So if you ever feel like giving up on studying, remember Jack's story and Mrs. Johnson's advice. Education is the key to a successful future, and you don't want to miss out on opportunities because you didn't want to study.